Hey guys, so before you watch this, give the description a read just to get a context as to why I made this video. So as you have read, my biggest reason for coming out was because of my grandma passing. Before getting to that point though, I had been struggling with my identity for a while, and that left me confused and not really knowing who I was. And although it didn't really stop me from living, it still affected me for over 10 years. There's no doubt that this sort of life is pretty common among the LGBT community, but I still wanted to make this video so that I could share this journey of self-discovery with other people. So starting from the beginning, I think I first realized that I was different during year 8 or 9 in high school. I noticed myself checking out guys and just noticed them more often in general. At that age, I knew what homosexuality was. You would hear the slurs being thrown around at school, things like, oh, this or that is gay, and I know there wasn't really any malice involved, but still I knew that there was a bit of discrimination there. There weren't any openly gay students while I was in high school, so I don't really know if they would have been bullied or treated differently, but as a young teen I knew what it meant to be gay and the kind of negative connotations towards it. Anyway, the idea that I might have been gay definitely crossed my mind, but around that same time I had this massive crush on a girl. We were already close friends and my feelings grew pretty rapidly. It was at this point where I was quite confused. On one hand, there was this girl that I had really strong feelings for, but then on the other, I was still attracted to guys. And then so I kind of did what most LGBT folks would have done, which was deny everything to myself, push it off as just more curiosity, and just suppress that other side of me. In the following years of high school, this was like a constant question in my head. Do I like girls? Do I like guys? I didn't really know. So I went out looking for answers. I explored the internet, and with it, all the information in the world there was about homosexuality and the like. So in other words, the pornos. And it was that point where I kind of knew it was more than just curiosity. I've watched both hetero and homo porn, and they both seem just as equally enjoyable or not. And finishing high school, had a couple more instances with girls, but I still suppressed that side of me as well. Then going into uni, again within that first year, I fell for another girl. It was at this point where I had begun thinking, I can't possibly be gay. I've only ever fallen for girls. Surely if I was, I would have met a guy that I liked already. And with this mentality, I further denied the idea of me being gay and just kind of further suppressed that side. But again, that didn't really work out. I still checked out guys, and I still strayed to that side of the internet. Aside from all that though, uni life for me was like any other student. I went to parties, I socialized, got drunk way too much, and then on occasion I hooked up with girls. To me it seemed pretty natural, so in my mind I thought that was what made me straight. Then during the end of my uni degree, this type of thinking got me on a pretty ugly path where I would actively try and seek out hookups, because I thought hooking up with girls somehow validated my heterosexuality. Throughout uni I did think about bisexuality though, but still wasn't 100% sure, because since I still like girls, I just thought that I could hide that other side of me and continue life, and no one would really need to know. So the next major phase of my life was when I moved away from home to pursue a master's in marine biology. I moved to Townsville, so it was a different city, a different state, and I didn't know anyone. I wasn't out, not even really to myself. So kind of just went about my days as normal. Attended classes, met a bunch of awesome new friends, and then I met a girl again. Same thing, developed the feels, although this one fizzled as quickly as it arose, but still it was kind of like another source of heterosexual affirmation for me. So yeah, but then I just kind of continued on with life as usual. Then into my final year of the Masters, I met another person. Same wave of emotions came about. We became fast friends, got along, and the feelings grew. Except there was something different about this time. Person that I developed feelings for was a guy, and that sort of did it. This one major circumstance confirmed everything in my mind that I'd so long been suspicious of and had tried to deny. Turns out I do like guys, and not just physical attractions, but now I knew that it could also be an emotional one. In hindsight, I think that I had been waiting to find out. Sorry about that. Mum just made some food and was asking if I wanted to eat any. Yeah. So getting back to the story, as I was saying, in hindsight, I think I had been waiting to find out if I was able to connect with a guy in the same way that I could with girls. And it just took meeting the right person for me to realize that the emotional connections is what I was really wanting. And so when I did meet this guy, like, everything was made clear and was actually validated for me. Yeah. But even despite all of that, I still remained closeted. Should have been simple, really. I mean, you like guys, you like girls, therefore you are bisexual. Like, I knew who I was, but I don't think I was ready to accept, or maybe I wasn't sure that I even wanted to be that person. It was kind of like I was waiting for something, like one more sign. I just didn't know what. And then a couple months later, my grandmother passed away. As I mentioned in the description box, we were very close, and to have her passing without knowing the real me, that really shook me to my core. And from that moment, everything kind of changed. The moment I received that call from my brother that morning, I decided to come out. Didn't want to hide anymore. It was like all my uncertainties and insecurities went out the window, and I didn't care about what people thought anymore. That week that I went home for the funeral, the very first person I told was my sister. And that was like the single hardest moment of my life. I remember walking up and down the hallway between our rooms probably a dozen times, thinking, holy shit, am I really about to do this? Am I really about to tell someone? I finally did though, and naturally she responded with love and support, which I expected no less from her. She's always been my biggest fan. Then I told my best friend of 20 years, which again, he was awesome. I told my brother, and I told the rest of my closest and dearest friends too. And again, all these interactions was met with love. Then over the next couple months, I slowly told more and more people. Pretty much all of my Townsville friends knew. And then right up until May this year, I came out publicly. And that felt awesome. My coming out experience was pretty amazing, and greatly appreciated everyone's kind words and vibes. But the lead up to all of this was definitely a struggle. So as I'd mentioned, I had many moments of self-doubt scattered throughout my life where I questioned who I was. I'll think about what I was going to do as life went on. Would I be living this secret forever? Would I ever tell anyone? Was I even sure about what I identified as? These moments of self-questioning would come about suddenly and randomly during my life, and they would really keep me up in the night. When I was in my teens, these thoughts really bothered me and affected my state of mind, as I was always thinking about my future, not even just looking at careers, but just future relationships, and thinking about how I might have to hide this part of me forever. As I got older, it still bothered me, but it was almost normalized by that point, so I got kind of used to it. I knew those moments would pass and I'd be able to just push them aside and then think, I'll let future John worry about that. And then I'd just go back and keep doing what I was doing and try not to let it affect my day-to-day life. And so, having lived most of my life with these thoughts kind of always at the back of my mind, the moment that I accepted who I was, I instantly felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. My mind cleared and I no longer felt the burden of the secret. Now I say secret, not because I kept it from other people, but more so because I kept it a secret from myself. When I look back now, I remember thinking of those moments of like internal conflict, and I only thought of them as just mere inconveniences. But now that I know how it feels to be completely free, living the way I did back then doesn't seem so healthy to me now that I think about it. I still do think it's important though to be able to think about the past, because that period really contributed to shaping who I am, and I think it kind of does define me as well. Of course I wouldn't ever wish it upon anyone, but I also do appreciate that I had to go through all of that, but I was still able to come out the other side better and happier person. Now I think some of you may have noticed that I've become a bit of a social justice warrior recently, so of course I'm going to try and extend this to a broader issue, because my story is one of many, and this is just so much bigger than me. And while it is 2016, yes, the LGBT community is quite widely accepted, and this stuff really shouldn't be a big deal, but still this issue should in no way be minimized. To many LGBT people, this was an extra layer of anxiety and confusion that they had to add to the mix of problems that they already faced. Things like puberty, studies, money issues, relationship qualms, a bunch of other stuff. That's already enough stress to handle. So to also be confused about sexuality is quite an extra bit of stress that we didn't need. I personally want a place and time where people don't need to worry about that stuff. The reason why I think people struggle to find their sexuality is because there's still a massive taboo surrounding it. They deny their own feelings due to fear of ridicule and discrimination, just because that their feelings don't conform with society's norms. And they end up wasting all this time fighting with themselves and not being able to enjoy life to the fullest. I even think that it's just sex in general that's been stigmatized. You look on TV and the content that is allowed to air, like violence, wars, people dying and shit, but something as harmless as two people kissing, not necessarily even a gay couple, and people up in arms and shielding their children from it, like somehow it's going to corrupt them. some stupid. Like it's complete bullshit. I think that if there wasn't a stigma around sex, then life would probably be a lot easier for LGBT folks. Like, there wouldn't be a need for this internal struggle. You wouldn't need to come out. None of that stuff. To do that, I think education is crucial. So obviously, start at early ages would be best. But for me, simply sharing my story so that people can empathize a bit more, or just have people thinking about certain issues, could make all the difference. The other major hope that I had, or have for this video, is that it might be able to help anyone that's struggling or questioning their sexuality. I know that I've watched many of these coming out videos, and although everybody's story is different, and I didn't necessarily relate to all of them, I was still able to find some solace within them. So I hope that this can contribute to the LGBT YouTube community and help people in the way that it helped me. So that's my story. Thanks for sticking around for the entire video. I know it's probably a bit long, but I really appreciate it. And feel free to hit me up if you want to chat about anything. Talking about this stuff is strangely liberating, so it actually helps me out a lot too. Anyway, cheers for listening, and hope you have a great day. Bye.